Great, we are recording. Welcome everyone to this workshop. So as I mentioned 1 minute ago, you're gonna need your own natal chart. So please go on astro.com. You're gonna need a notebook, get yourself a pen. So today we're gonna talk about the eclipses. I'm just gonna give a very quick introduction about myself. Who works with me know how much I like this part of my workshops. So I'm Giorgia. I'm a teacher. I'm a mentor, I do astrological readings. If you're interested in working with me, just look at my own website. Great. Saying that, let's move to the workshop. So let's talk about the eclipses. Why I'm offering this workshop? This is a topic that came up many times, like probably over the last 2 years. So you asked for it, so that's why I'm doing it. When we are working with eclipses, we have to work with the past. You know, when we're working with predictive astrology, for example, we work with cycles. I see that some of my advanced students here. The problem is like when we're looking, for example, your Saturn return. So at the age of 29, you're having this moment in which you basically become an adult. It's important to see what happened 7 years prior to that. Okay, so this is just one example. That's why we work with Saturn. Same thing happens when we're working with like with Chiron. So with each planet, we're having returns and we are seeing certain timelines. When we work with new moons and full moons, people think that it's just gonna work in the specific month. That this is true, but this doesn't apply to eclipses, because with eclipses, we have to work with the past. So let's break this down. When we're looking at the meaning of eclipses, so an eclipse is a situation in which something becomes less important. You know, it's an expression that we use in our daily language as, yeah, this person eclipsed, like when it's about to disappear. So the same applies to eclipse cycles, meaning a situation in your own life is going to become a way less important than you think. Okay? So the question is about understanding which situation is that. Okay? What are eclipses exactly? So they represent events that we can't really predict. So there is something that goes beyond our control on a personal level and on a collective level. So this is the first issue that with eclipses, because that's the reason why sometimes people ask, are they positive, are they negative? Well, there are intense. So if we're having an issue with control, you are the only people that can know about it. It's difficult to deal with them. If you're open to the fact that, you know, everything happens for a reason, or I can make the best out of the worst, then it's easier to navigate them. Then they are triggered by external factors. When we're working with astrology, sometimes you can work with some inner things. So some things you can literally change. For example, this happens a lot like with Jupiter or Saturn, like with social planets. There are some situations, there are some opportunities. It's like, okay, someone is offering you a job in San Francisco. Then it's up to you to decide what to do about it. With the eclipse, is exactly the opposite process. It's like we just have to surrender and observe what the world, like the universe is trying to tell you something. And the thing is that probably the message that it's trying to give you is not exactly the one you would like or what you expect to hear. Third thing, things that are very unexpected in the sense that we can really look back. So what happens during an eclipse is just gonna sound like a new chapter, a new life. So usually it's quite difficult. You know, I love to use like this example of the door. Like with the eclipse, when we are opening one door and we are going through that, the previous door just gets locked. So you don't have much choices there. You just have to keep on going. So it's just like this sort of game with doors. We want to question ourselves. We're gonna understand the true colors of the people around us. And it's about reevaluating what we're doing. When we're talking about this reevaluation, eclipses, they take 18 months, up to 2 years. So it takes a bit longer than we think to understand certain dynamics, okay? How do they work practically? So there are like 3 things that you really need to know. They work in pairs in opposite signs. I also know there are beginners here. It's completely fine. I'm going to break it down for you, so don't panic. Also, there are astrologers here, so write in the chat. I love to work in this communal way. If you got questions, just write in the chat. Someone is going to answer. I also going to answer as well. So when we work with astrology, we work with polarities. So each sign is an opposite, okay? So we're having, in this case, Aries is the opposite of Libra. So if we're having an eclipse on one sign, we're going to have also to look at the opposite, okay? Second, is they are not impacting everyone in the same way. So on a collective level, yes. So there are usually some big things happening, like wars or big structural changes, or a government is collapsing, like things like that. But on a personal level, it depends from your own natal chart. And this is what also gonna discover probably in 16 minutes from now. So spoiler, if you have planets in Aries and Libra, this is going to impact you more than others. I could see some of your faces like, great. Third, this is a process that takes between 18 and 24 months. So we have breaks every 7 years. And if you expect what's happening in the eclipse right now just to be solved within a week, not happening. So whatever happens during an eclipse needs 6 months to be processed. So if you're pushing yourself, if during this weekend you're thinking, oh my God, I'm just gonna, no, because there are some things that are not clear yet. So regarding this, I have a question for you, because this is the question that, can you see that? So do you think eclipses are a good time to doing manifestation rituals? This is the $1 million question. Okay, so if I just give you a second to answer, just checking the chat in the meantime. Nice. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so what you're saying, most of you is saying not really. Few of you are saying yes, the other depends from the kind of eclipse. Well, the main official answer is no, for a very simple reason. We were talking about the fact that things we can predict, things we can control, we don't have a full picture. So how are we supposed to just put something out there we're not very sure about, okay? At the same time, we could do something. It's not about like not doing anything at all, but since everything is supercharged, we can work with things we are really, really, really sure about, okay? So instead of trying to push like in a very Aries way, what I will suggest you to do is to respond. Okay, I have this plan. I don't know, I want to do this new course, let's say, right? So maybe during an eclipse, I start to look at locations. I start thinking about possible cooperations. Oh yeah, like 3 months ago, this woman wrote me that she wanted to do something with me. Yeah, maybe I should send them an email. So there are some things that we could do. It's not about not doing anything, but not anything that has a wild impact. Like that, don't put too much Martian energy on this, okay? It's a bit easier. There's a reason why we're doing this today and not 2 weeks ago when we had the lunar eclipse, during solar eclipses. Now I'm going to explain you the difference in a second. So the one that are close to new moons, because they are connected to something new. So if we want to initiate something, despite the intensity, a solar moon is great. A lunar one, no, that's a hard no. Because this is like a moment in which what happened like 2 weeks ago on the 25th of March, because that's a moment in which we want to release, there is grief, there is loss, karmic contracts are ending. So since you are in this turmoil, my suggestion would be take time off. Don't think about doing massive things because your body wants to rest and wants to process. Yeah, so we just want to give ourselves some space. Okay, so now that we clarified that, lunations. Why we're working with new moons and full moons? Because eclipses are just happening during new moons and full moons. So we have 8 lunar phases. So then another question is like, yeah, Giorgia, but why we're doing this during the new and the full moon and not during the balsamic moon, for example? Historically, I mean, astrology is based lots on tradition. Like people used to do things, used to determine things based on observation. When there was this red planet moving around, red planet Mars, so they will take notes and be like, oh, this is a good moment to start the war. Every time the sky turns red and the red ball is coming. We associate Mars with war. So that's the reason why we have the planets we have. Like, there is an astronomical reason for it. Okay, so that's the reason why we choose some things. Why the new moon? Why the full moon? This is a bit like fun fact. So if you're gonna go to Who Wants to Be Millionaire, this information may be useful. So during the new moon, we have the darkest sky. Did you know that? During a new moon, the night appears to be very, very dark because the moon is between the earth and the sun. So it's easier to see the sky. The tides at the seaside that are higher, so like the spring tides, because the gravitational pull of the sun is aligning. Okay, so we got stronger tidal force. The animal behavior is changing. Like nocturnal animals are more active and diurnal ones are sleeping more. Full moon, completely opposite way around. The sky is super bright. And you see, if you're seeing this as some sort of a metaphor, why then the full moon is this moment in which is like, we have this culmination. Everything becomes bright in my head. Yeah. So the increased light makes you easier to see things. I see things, I can release them. Yeah. The tides are still very high. So the new moon and the full moon, there are both like these two moments in which this is happening. Okay. Animal behavior, like hunting. This is like when people like, and then because also another fun fact, I don't know if you know that in hospitals, there are more people working during full moons because people got a bit cuckoo. So they need more people at hospitals. So that's why we're using new moons and full moons. So the more we know. A new moon and a solar eclipse are the same thing. So these are not different. But the question is, then what is the difference between a new moon and a solar eclipse? With a new moon, the moon is between the earth and the sun, okay? With the solar eclipse, the moon is blocking the sunlight, okay? So with the new moon, we're starting new things. With the solar eclipse, we are transforming things. We are observing things, yeah? The sun and the moon are very close to the lunar nodes. So this is the difference with a normal new moon. Another line, So when there is a normal new moon, no nodes involved. When there is a solar eclipse, nodes involved. That's the reason why we're talking with destiny, about destiny. What are the lunar nodes? The lunar nodes in astrology, there are these two weird things. When I'm going to show you a chart, you're going to have a visual. These are the elements that determine your destiny, your mission in life, your karma, your evolution. So that's the reason why solar eclipses are so important. New moons once a month. Mundane things, okay, this new moon is in Taurus. I just want to deal with my bank account. I want to be more conscious with my money. Simple things. Eclipses 4 times per year, big kick in the ass. Very different energy. Again, you can think about new moon as the mama, solar eclipse, brutal grandmother that is like, you know, back in the day, we used to do this and that. What are you supposed to do now? Same process with the full moon. So with the full moon, what's happening again? We are having the lunar nodes. We are having emotional breakthrough. We are having shifts in consciousness. Yeah. And we are fully illuminating something. So very strong, very dense. We solved also this mystery. What do we want to change? During eclipses, so we have to start looking what has been happening this last 48 hours, because when we count eclipses and also new moon and full moon, you have to start counting 3 days prior to the new moon or full moon. Because like when the full moon is at, like in this case, it's tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening. Tomorrow is the peak, but we're just like building up on that. They're gonna have the peak and it's just gonna go down. So we have a major change, a meeting, a divorce. I want to buy a house. I'm just going to get a child. Something ends. Something is beginning. We're going to have new options. All ones, they go. The problem is if you're doing something, like especially during the last 48 hours, and you don't want to let it go. It's like, you know, I've done something and this is ending. I know deep down this is ending, because for my own evolution, Luran notes, for my own karma, this has to go. If you don't manage to let go, if you're in this between state, I'm not sure this is gonna work. You know, if you want to bring reconciliation, if you want to reverse something, and this is the most difficult thing that I have to discuss with clients when I work with predictive like events, because they're like, yeah, but we are if it's still it's no. If you really, really, really want a second chance, but you see, I'm rolling my eyes. But let's say there is a situation that is like a maybe, and you really are sticking to that. Wait 4 months. There is something that's called a trine. The nerds here know what that is. Beginners, don't worry about it. But the point is, in 4 months, there's going to be a portal opening and a solution might be there. Yeah. Now, let's take our natal charts. So astro.com, website for free. The other one, AstroSeek, another very beautiful website that we could use. If you want to spend a bit of money, there is also Astro Gold, that is great. So your own natal chart is divided in 4 types, I mean, even more, but let's say. So we got the aspects that are those lines that we are not looking at today. We have the planets that are these guys here. So all these points, actually, these are not the planets, this is a node. Then here we have the signs. So we have Aries, Libra, Gemini. What I want you to do is to find these 2 symbols. So you see here we got Aries and here we got Libra. So 1 and 2, okay? If some of you have no idea to do that, just put your chart in the chat and get help. When we are looking at this chart, in this case, it's house number 6. So it's starting here. You see beginning, house number 6, 6th house is in Aries, beginning of 7th house is in Aries as well. Sometimes it may happen that 2 houses are in the same sign. That's why I pick this specific example. Same thing here. So we have the house number 12. So it's starting from here. So the line, the number, the line has to be above the number 12 and 1. Is this clear for everyone? Yeah? Okay. So look at this place in the chart, because I need to know in which houses they are located, because these are the 2 topics. I mean, in this case, for this person, there are 4, but usually there are just 2. These are going to be the 2 topics we need to work with. So let me take a quick look at the chat. So for the ones that is not clear, please put the chart, get help. Yeah, you just put the option there. So, okay, if you have Aries and Libra intercepted, use the previous house. Okay. So just put the charts in there. In the meantime, I'm just keeping on explaining things. So just look, you have to find these 2 symbols in your own chart. For the ones that are watching the recording, if it's not clear, just send me an email. Now, Aries and Libra, what is this axis about? This is the topic we are working with this eclipse, and also we're going to work for the next one, because the eclipse is going to end of March of next year. And there I created a step-by-step guide until next March. So we're just halfway of that. The topics in general for all of us have to do with the way in which we are relating. So if some of you are in a love relationship, in a business partnership, it's some sort of very strong commitment with someone, and you want to go on a next step for some reason, this eclipse is all about it. Are you happy about how you're relating with other people? Great, then you're good to go. Are you satisfied about relationships? It's probably 99% of you. Well, this eclipse is going to help with that. So we have relationships and mirroring. How much you're giving, how much you're receiving. No, Giorgia, what I'm giving and what I'm receiving, what I'm giving, what I'm taking, because it's just not receiving. Aries is really like, what I'm taking, they are in perfect balance, sound good. If this is not the case, we have to sit with it. Second thing, the difference between your instincts and your social position, because Libra has to do also with the social aspects of who you are. So are you in a certain place because you deserve it or not? Do you think you're diplomatic enough? Do you think you're not diplomatic enough? Yeah, you know, I would love to do this thing, but I just don't know to be a part of the group, but I have this boss that I would love to kill. We have to find a balance between the two. And the third main topic for this month and the 11 months to come has to do with alliances. So let's stop for a second with this. And now I told you, if you have a notebook, please just write this question in your notebook. You know, this is also a bit of our own work. I don't expect you to have these answers right now because we are in this process. It's something that would be great to do tonight. The question is, who are my allies right now? Do you have real allies in your life? And if yes, which are the qualities that these people have? So the house that we look at is the house where Aries is located in your own natal chart, not just for this eclipse. So Annie, I'm looking at your chart. In your case is the house number 8 and part of the number 7. So number 7, number 8. Just gonna go back there for a second because to here. So you see in this case, we have number 6, a very small portion of the house number 5 and a part of the house number 7 here. Very small portion of the house number 11, number 12, and parts of the house number 1. Yeah. So then the question is, okay, Giorgia, then we having the houses. What do we do with that? So we're working with fire and air. So the topics are your body, your spirit, your mind, your community, how you are relating with your brothers, with your sister, with your neighbors, with your collaborations, with the people you love, with your spouse, with the groups that you're part of. So it's not really about what you possess. It's not about your psychic powers. How alive do I feel? For example, if you're in some sort of relationship that you find boring, this is maybe a moment to look at that. Now, take this number that you found in your own natal chart. This corresponds to the meaning in these houses. I'm also gonna just copy this in the chat. So when I'm gonna move on, you're still gonna have this. Okay, so these are the 12 houses. Here, there are the meanings. Just give me a second. So each house represents like a different area of our lives. So whatever planet that we have in those houses is telling us a bit of a vibe. For example, the first house is the house of the self, is the house of me. So if you have any planets there, there is a strong presence like to your physical body. Okay, I just put everything in the chat. So it's about your appearance, it's about your expression, it's about you begin things. If you have in Aries or Libra in the second house, also planet in the second house, it has to do with your possession, it has to do with self-worth, it has to do with your values and your relationship with materiality. The second house also has to do with photography, with art. For example, if you're a model, this is also the place in which it goes, like everything that is beautiful, let's say. Then we got the third house. The third house has to do with communication. So siblings, short trips, your own intelligence, what is your own relationship with learning, with reading. So everything that involves like your brain, basically. The fourth house has to do with your roots, with your background, with your heritage, with your household, with your parents, with the country you are from. So we're talking about family stuff and home stuff. Home, also in the sense of house. It's like, you know, buying a house. That's fourth house. The fifth house has to do with sex, with children, creativity, hobbies, with pleasure, like everything that is creative, and also gambling. The 6th house with service, with routine, with health, with diet, with your daily life. Your 7th house, everything that has to do with one-on-one, partnership, marriages, people you're relating on one-on-one level. It could be if you're going to an astrologer, if you're going to a therapist, if you're working with a lawyer, if you're working with a publisher. All of them, there are 7th house experiences. The 8th house, all the things we don't want to talk about. So sex, drugs, and rock and roll, basically. Taboo, taxes, banks, heritage, death, that could be physical or metaphysical. 9th house, education, religion, wisdom, philosophy, higher concepts. 10th house, fame, reputation, vocation, achievement, guides. It's like how we putting ourselves into the world. You know, it could be your profession, but it's just like it's your vocation more. You know, like you want to be out there. What you want to be remembered for. That's the 10th house. My 10th house is in Sagittarius, has to do with teaching. So here we go. The 11th house has to do with associations, with groups, with friendships, with goals, with hopes, everything that involves more people. And then we go to the 12th house. The 12th house is the house of collective karma, self-undoing, dream world, shamanism, all weird things that you don't know to define in the previous 11, that goes in the 12th house. It's like, yeah, I talk to spirits at 3 in the morning, 12th house. Yeah, that's the idea. For those that have no idea, again, it's in the chat. So let's put these 2 pieces of information together. Look at the houses in which there is the symbol of Aries and Libra. Look at these topics. These are the topics of your eclipse journey. Is this making sense for everyone? Sì? Perfetto. Ottimo. Let me look at the chat. Okay, perfect. Just keeping helping each other. So if you are having planets in Aries or Libra specifically, so speaking of, let's see, what is the situation here? So survey. Do you have any planets in Aries or Libra? Oh, okay, that's lots of you. I'm laughing. I'm like, wait, I have planets in Aries. Damn it. Okay, so here we have most of you got planets in Aries. Those planets, or Libra, those planets, they're gonna have like a special influence in your life, because when you're looking at your own natal chart, it's not always active. You know, some planets are sleeping from time to time because there's lots of energies. You know, your sun, it's how you act, your moon is how you're feeling, Mercury is how you're thinking. Like you can be in this constant state of like thinking and producing and creating and making love. How we activate parts of the chart, we transit. So with eclipses, these planets in your life, and also if you have planets in Cancer or Capricorn, these planets is going to be in the first row. So the question is, with these planets, they're going to be in the first row. What is the relationship that you have with them? So let's look at the sun. You know, the sun has to do with your identity, with your ego, with your life purpose. Yes, Georgia, I have the sun in Aries. I already know what I want to do in my life, so I'm fine. See? But if there is the eclipse and the nodes there, like this is a moment in which we either like we really go out into the world, or we are also open to question who we are. The moon, you're gonna have big changes around your emotional world. Mercury, you're gonna have big changes around your communication, the information flow, people you're surrounding yourself with. Venus, partnerships. Like this is also like just love relationships. Mars, your motivation or conflicts. Jupiter, opportunities with your learning. Saturn, opportunities in becoming more responsible. Especially those of you that have Saturn in Aries, this year you just have to grow up. Like this is the grow up pill, basically. Then we got Uranus shifts, breakthrough, disruptions. Like this is a year in which we want to change things. And now you may ask, like, Georgia, why are you saying it's an year if the eclipse is right now? because the eclipses started last April 23 in Aries, and they're gonna end in March 25. So this whole window is included in the package. All the shifts, they started last year, they're just gonna keep on going until next March. They're just gonna be more active exactly when the eclipses are happening. And then we got Neptune with intuition and Pluto with crisis. I mean, here, yeah, especially the ones who got Pluto in Libra. When you're looking at the houses in your chart where you have Aries and Libra, now, okay, another moment of self-inquiry. Take your notebooks again, more homework here. And then I'm gonna look at the chat. If you look at the house in which Aries is located, especially where it starts, so in this case, we have like 6 and 7. In these parts of your chart, in general, beside the eclipse, these are places in which you need to take action, in which you need to assert yourself, in which you need to develop confidence, in which you don't need to wait for others. Yeah? So let's say I go Aries in the 10th house, Aries in the house of work. I'm here to do a job that is pioneering. Okay, so Aries is a synonymous of initiator because they don't have time to wait. It's just like, I have this idea, I'm working on the moment, I'm just trusting my own intuition because fire is pure spirit. Aries is like the purest of the purest energies. If this is an area in your life in which it's like, yeah, I'm totally asserting myself. Let's say it's in house number 3. It's your own communication, in which also we could be, the shadow part is we could be a bit too aggressive as well. One thing is to be assertive. One thing is to be aggressive. If we are assertive, all good. If we don't manage to deal with our own anger, or we just don't manage to assert ourselves at all, during this year, this is going to be an issue we need to work on. And you are the only people that can know about this. I could see some of your faces like, some are like, Same process, opposite way around. Let's look at the house in which Libra is in your natal chart, because this is the place in which you need some company. Libra is 2 of them, is the sign of us. Aries is me, Libra is you. If we are working with these 2 parts of the chart, then we learn how to become us, okay? So this is a place in which we need fairness, in which we are seeking balance, in which you're still gonna have to use your brain, because Libra is air sign, has to do with your mental skills, but also you gotta be smart because you can do things on your own because you're gonna get tired. So here, if you're not cooperating, if you're not opening yourself to partnerships in this area of your life, again, this year is bringing all these things up. You're not here to do things on your own. Okay, so here, yeah, you're just talking about your own charts. Now, someone is asking, if someone was born specifically, how many of you were born with Libra ascendant? So meaning Libra here. So like in this case, when a person is born with Libra in the house of Aries, literally your chart is upside down in terms of archetypes. So when a person is born with an ascendant in Libra, during an eclipse like this, is about finding support from others in order to be ourselves. It's like, I'm not here as a self-made man. There are some people, like, let's say, Jeff Bezos, right? It's just like, I started my own empire on my own. I didn't need anyone, whatever. With the ascendant in Libra, we still need other people. And it doesn't mean, it's this question of, how can I be interdependent? Because one thing is to be codependent, like I depend on you, but if you're not that, I don't function. Interdependent is like we depend on each other in a way that is healthy. Is the difference clear for the one they call Libra rising? Because the problem with Libra people is like, then is the people pleasing shadow aspect of having a Libra rising. It's like, yeah, but if I don't support them, they won't like me. So it's about finding this thin line between expressing your own opinion, realizing that you need other people, but also that you have to think about yourself. Then, now that we got this topic, a question here is there something, because, you know, the North Node is in Aries, so collectively we are entering like a new age. I mean, 2025, like after 2025, we're going to start this cultural revolution. The world in 7 years' time won't be the same, yada, yada, yada. But with these eclipses, is about giving birth to something new in our lives. So, and since Aries is about new stuff, there is something that you would like to do that you haven't done before. We are not recycling gear. Something that you would like to do, but you don't think you are capable of, especially looking at these two areas in which Libra and Aries are. Because if that's the case, we want to work on make this happen, because it's very much possible with these eclipses. The problem is that we are afraid of asking ourselves this question, because then you have to hold yourself accountable. Yeah. Now, let's start the tracking journey. So when we're working with eclipses, there's going to be like 3 things we're going to have to look at. First of all, the last time in which we had the same eclipse. This is called Saros cycle. It's between 18 years, 19 years ago. When you have the eclipses, another fun fact, it's usually in the same places. It's like same degrees. Last time, it was in 2006, and now we're going to explore this deeper. The other one is 7 years ago, when the nodes were opposite. So 2005, 2006. Let's go back memory lane. Look at the houses of your natal chart. These are the topics. For those of you that the advanced ones, also look where Venus and Mars are to have some extra ins, okay? Beginners in your depart. So 2005 and 6, what was happening in your life? Was it a big change around the topic of you and others, around the topic of social status, around you starting a new chapter in your own life, about you meeting someone very significant, about you having, like, creating very strong alliance in your life? What was happening back then? This is a good moment, you know, to use Facebook that now we're not using anymore, but some people started using that. I love these options like 10 years ago now. And, you know, we are doing this astrological work is very useful. So first thing I would love you to do tonight is just to sit and think, what was the main topic? Also, if some of you wants to share this in the chat, like if you're having some realizations about what that could be, please do. You know, in my case, it's in the 2nd and the 8th house, the opposition. And in 2006, it was so as to do, you know, me, I'm bringing myself into the world, I'm making my money, my own self-worth. Back then, it was the first time I started my own business. It's like when I was teaching Italian back then. So there was like the first, 2nd house in Aries. It's like, yeah, I'm starting, so I'm gonna make money my own way. Like the entrepreneur in me came up. What about you? So parents just passing, moving to another country. Yeah, just take a minute to think what was happening. So just think almost 20 years ago, if it works better, you know, I'm 36. So yeah, putting it together was like 18. How old were you? I was 11 years old and my parents divorced. Libra 4000, Aries 10th. You see, this is a great example. Thank you, Lisa. So here we're talking about divorce, and 4th, 10th house is the axis of the parents as well. 4000, 10th house. So here again, this is gonna be a topic. Like if you want to buy a house, if you want to build your own home, what is your own definition of family? If you want to be with someone, which were the things that impacted you out of that situation, because now we're going to have chapter 2. I started a master program on human rights, which launched my career. 10th house Libra. Start my first serious relationship. Yeah, so in this case, Carlotta got it in the 7th house. So here we have the first one. What happened 19 years ago? It was the first layer. Also, for those of you that are older, you just can go back 19 more years. So 1986, you know, I was not here. So, but for those that already were here, that's like, we can bring to another level. So first cycle, 19 years ago, there was a lesson. Let's add another one. The inverted nodes. 7 years ago, we had Aries-Libra, but the opposite way around, because now we have the North Node in Aries, the South Node in Libra. 7 years ago, we had the North Node in Libra, the South Node in Aries. Okay, so what was happening 2015-16? Uranus was just entering Aries. I mean, the main topic was about loneliness. It was about betrayal. It was about breakups. It was about survival mode. There was a part of our life in which we really have to work hard, like lots of disappointment, awareness of our desire for peace and for love and safety. That was not necessarily there, because that was the collective challenge that we had. So look again at those areas of your life 7 years ago, 2015, 2016. And again, if you want to share in the chat, best way to learn astrology, learning about those people experiences, that's how you remember stuff. Was it something occurring back then? And how you were navigating, because the topic was about fit in and finding your own personal voice. How you were navigating these two areas of your life. So I decided to end my linguistic studies, life crisis, and left my corporate job. The notes were 15, 16. Yeah, it's like, it's 8 years ago, more or less. I quit my job. I separated from the father of our son, big breakup, finished my master. I met the guy that almost destroyed my peace, broke up with my first. So you see all the things that I'm reading here. Eclipse times, as you can see with these topics, they're bringing big things. I broke up, they divorced, I moved to another country, burnout, my life changed completely, new language. It's so, if you notice what are you sharing is like, is this new. This is what I met my ex-partner. We moved in together. We wanted to buy a nest. I moved to Glastonbury 7 years ago. And now I'm moving away after 7 years. I was about to ask, because it's something that big happened between 15 and 16, and especially you move to different countries. This is going to be a moment in which we want to ask ourselves, is like, okay, do we still resonate with this place or not? Do we still resonate with this job or not? Because North Node in Aries, there was something, the choices that you took in 2015 and 16, they were based on Libra. There was a need to find the nest. There was a need to find safety, to find the group, to find a place where to belong, basically. Now that 7 years passed, there is a different need. There is a need to think more about what is the best for you. Yeah, so we are moving into this more like personal, what do I need right now? Okay. 2015, depression, I started therapy, started processing my romantic behavior, Aries, 7th and 8th house. Yeah, the topic of relating, also sexuality and sharing, because the 8th house, it has to do also the emotional intimacy. 2016, I started solo travel and changed who I was and start seeking community and spirituality, Libra in the 1st and 2nd house. Yeah, so that's the best example. Now, let's make this story even more precise. There is a 3rd cycle to look at, the one in which we are right now. So this we remember for sure. So we had this set of eclipses. The first one was on the 20th of April. Now we're going to break them down. Then we go 14th of October, 25th of March. We are here. So we see we are like 2/3 of the process. 8th of April, 2nd of October, 29th of March. Okay? Allora, so let's start with the first one. 20 April 2023. I wrote this newsletter. The title was like, The Good Girl is Tired. There was a part of us that wanted to rebel. It was an eclipse squaring Pluto, was also aligned with Jupiter. So the topic was about independence, courage, I'm smiling because I'm thinking about what's happening, but then you asserting yourself, beginning your long-term plans. This was something primal that was emerging out of the winter. That still has some consequences right now that we're speaking. Yeah. So let's go back into April 2023, because this is the very beginning of the story. So chapter 1. So with chapter 1, I want you to find where is 29 degrees of Aries in your chart. So you see here, this is Aries, 29 degrees are 30 of them. So it's here. I want you to find this specific point in your own natal chart. So in this case, it's in the house number 7. So the topic has to do with partnerships or relationships. So what is that? What was happening April last year that you were like, no, I don't like this. I don't agree with this. I don't have all the tools to change everything, but I'm realizing that something has to change. If some of you are having issues with finding the point, share your chart in the chat, and we're going to take care of it. So look at this 25 degrees of Aries. Look at the topics of the houses. How did it start? And in general, if there is, because, you know, when we're working with astrology, there's also this, it's like when you work with shamanism, with dream work, with therapy, it's what comes up for you. You know, it's like when you're having a dream, the most important way to work with the dream is what the dream means to you. Which kind of emotions are you feeling? So if I'm telling you, April 23, big change, you were pissed off, you want to change something of your life, what comes to your mind? See if something is emerging. Something emerged there? Okay, yeah, most of you are like, having a great time. So you see here, Greg is sharing, my Chiron is 29 degrees of Aries, 4,000. So if you're having planets exactly this degree, also one more, one less, that is one of the topics. So you see, in this case, we know 4,000 of family and Chiron. There is something that we really need to look at with our parents. Fun times last April for you, Greg, right? Okay, so now let's add a second one. Let's go back to October 2023. 21 degrees of Libra. This one was opposite Chiron. There is lots of Chiron. All these eclipses, there is Chiron everywhere. Chiron is the archetype of suffering, of healing. So there are like generational trauma or things that we internalized from the past, triggers that are just keeping on coming up. So it's very important that you understand that there are lots of these wounded parts of your inner child you have to take care of. In October, there was lots around relating. Well, that was a super relating one. Are you cooperating with others? Or are you compromising with others? So if you think about your own relationship with friends, with lovers, with family, with business connections, are collaborations, cooperation, competition, balance in your relationship? What was happening in the world around you? Because this is like chapter number 2 of our book. So Francesca left Berlin and went to Peru. My relationship started to break down. Chiron in Libra in the 11th house. Exactly that. So in my case, it was, what was it? It was, it was in the 8th house. That weekend, I was at the astrological conference in England. And I made some amazing contacts. And it was exactly opposite my Jupiter in the 2nd house. So it was great on one side. It also cost me lots of money. I didn't make any money. I lost money out of that. Like I was going there, was working there, and yet, but it was very, very useful for sure. So let's just put this in your notebook. What happened back then? So here, 21 degrees of Libra, the area that needed some balance here. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Camila, I met you there. Yeah, that was an amazing one, amazing eclipse. So we got the second one. Now things are getting interesting because we are going to the one of 2 weeks ago. So even for those of you that are like, my memory is rubbish, 25th of March 2024, exactly 2 weeks ago. It was making a trine with Pluto. And when I wrote the last newsletter, there was the reason why I was like, I'm not going to do the event back then because it's a lunar one. You have to do some release. You have to notice some things. And the topic was all about karmic relationships. Who you thought a karmic encounter is and how things has been shifting since the last year in the way in which you're relating with these people. What can you do about it? Are you in any karmic relationships right now? What does it mean karmic? Like there is this pull, this attraction towards other people. You don't know how to explain this to yourself and to the other. Sometimes, karmic relationships can also be a bit toxic at times because like, I know it's not good for me, but I'm not managing to let it go. Yay. So do we have any of these people in our lives? We can shift karmic relationships. We can do it if we both doing the work. The problem with karmic relationships is that most of the times we think they're horizontal, like we are at the same level, but breaking news, we are not. So usually there is one person that is the teacher and the other one that is the student. One is providing guidance or seeing potential. It's like, no, we're totally the same. And a very common thing that people tell you when you have a karmic relationship with them, they're like, why are you friends with me? Why are you with me? I'm not sure I can give you as much as you're giving me. And you're like, no, that's not true. We're giving each other the same thing. They're right. I don't lie to you. They're right. They are right. These are karmic relationships. Yeah. So if you're having people that are telling this to you, sit with it. Yeah. So this is the number 3. So, which kind of karmic people? We look where is 5 degrees of Libra in your chart. So here we have Libra, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 here. Usually does my workshops, the Italian improves by the end of it. So we're looking here, house number 5. So we know that has to do, could be 5th house, your child, 5th house, a flirt, 5th house, it has to do with your own art. 5th house, someone with whom you're doing something very creative. Yeah, if let's say it's in your 1st house, is something that has to do with yourself and the way in which you are connecting with others. It's like, are you giving and taking in the same way? Is this balanced? Is it not? Allora. So someone is writing here. Could someone please help me again with this signs? It's insane. I exactly met someone on the 14th of October. I'm with them now again in the same space. It's definitely karmic, but I'm a complete beginner. So the thing is, when we are meeting someone during an eclipse, oh, how can we put this? We know that eclipses are beginning and ends. So if we are meeting someone during an eclipse, usually by the end of the process, something in the nature of the relationship changes. This could be a breakup, or this could be like a literal transformation of the roles in the relationship. Let's say we're gonna have a child together, or we're gonna get married, something big. We're gonna move in together. So maybe with another person that you met before is like, no, my policy is that I'm not gonna move in with someone unless we've been together for 4 years. If you met someone during an eclipse, this reasoning, nah. So there is something about the way in which you conceive processes that is not gonna work as usual. Okay. Midheaven, 4 degrees. Chiron in the 7th house, launching my first aligned journey. Very chironic one. Union of polarities, perfect. Someone got it wrong with the time zone. We blame this on Mercury retrograde. I will send the recording afterwards. Now, let's add another layer. Now, literally now that we're talking. So we are having Chiron on the moon. Mercury is retrograde. I wrote this long newsletter. The thing is, it's about issues with communication, people pleasing, or conversations that need to take place. So this is about old stuff, because again, Chiron has to do with your own inner child. Someone was asking me yesterday on Instagram, is like, yeah, but should I address things directly to someone since it's an eclipse? Yes, because it's stuff from the past. It's not something new. You know, like yeah, I'm bringing a message out there. No, it's something that has been in the space before. Yeah, so with the one today, I also want you to pay attention to what has been happening today, yesterday, and tomorrow. Who you're talking to, which other topics you're talking about, which other things that triggered you. In my case, is in conjunction with my Jupiter in the 2nd house. I had an email, 2nd house, your money, from my tax accountant. I was like, no. It's never ending. This thing started last year. So no new things under the sun. You know, I'm like, great. I'm just proving that this system works. Amazing. So observe this, because this is going to be present as an underlying topic for the next 6 months. Okay? Topic of last 3 days, next 6 months. I don't have any planets or houses are Aries-Libra. However, North Node, Chiron, and many more planets are transiting in Aries. Nadia, you have Aries in your chart somewhere. It has to be somewhere because it's inside one house. You know, if you share your chart, I can tell you what is that about. But because we all have the 12 signs. So if it's included, like let's say there is Pisces before, count the house. That is the topic, okay? So what are the things you're ready to talk about in the world? So you see here, 19 degrees of Aries. So we look, you see every 5 degrees, there is a line. So 5, 10, 15, 19, ta-da! So this is the top, this is the place in your chart that needs a boost of energy, that needs a release. And suggestion, since it has to do with Mercury and Chiron, see if you can spend some time or talking or singing some mantras. Or there is Chris that she's also offering things here. Like, just find a way out for your own voice, and you may start crying eventually. It's fine. It's all good. If you don't know why you're crying, it means you're doing great. Yeah. If anyone wants to, share something around that, please feel free. Now, there are gonna be 2 more. So first important thing, what's happening during this weekend? We are making a plan for the next months. We have this window. And then on the 2nd of October, it's going to make a square with Mars. So again, it's quite intense. 10 degrees of Libra. So the topic is going to be negotiation, healthy relating, inviting people in your life, because you're going to need these allies we were talking about. Yeah. So at the moment, we want to get rid of things that we don't understand. We want to tell people that there are some things that we don't need from them anymore. We want to be honest about the message that we want to deliver. If we're doing this homework during these months, it's going to be easier afterwards, because October is going to be all about networking. But we have to be sure about what we want to talk about. What do we want to say? How do we want to say it? Yeah. So we want to open this door. How do we open this door? We look at 10 degrees of Libra. So we count here, and you see pretty much it's probably the house is going to repeat over and over again. So you probably keep on having 2, 8, unless you have some special dynamics in your chart. These are the 2 houses. We are just doing this ping pong. Yeah. So then the question is, okay, Giorgia, is this gonna get to an end? Yes, it will. It will with the last chapter. The last chapter, 29 of March 2025. So sit comfy. We still have 11 months to go. That would be the moment. And you see, again, there was a trap question, the one at the beginning, because it's like, yeah, we don't want to do rituals, but when you have the last eclipse of a whole cycle, it's the last chapter. We're done. So whatever you want to do in the last one, perfect. It's not that we don't care anymore. We have the full picture. So the first 5, just imagine for each one is like some treasure that you are collecting on the way, on the path. The one in March, you're just gonna have to take all your things, put them on the table, observe it, and it's like, okay, now we can take some decisions about ourselves, what is good for us. We make permanent changes in the relationship, and there it's really like no way back from this. There's gonna be some flaws still. We give something up, we move on. We do something completely new, because also then, this happens every 6, 7 years, 7, 8 years. Then the nodes are gonna move to new signs, because before they were in Taurus and Scorpio. So in the last years, you had to learn about how do you relate with the material world, how you relate with other emotionally. Now it's about Aries and Libra. Yeah, because it's going backwards. Then it's going to move into Pisces and Virgo. So we're going to have to think about our bodies, our spirituality, like how to connect with that, completely different things. But this is about connecting with your own truth. Like now we have to think about ourselves. You mentioned somewhere, I think I managed to reply to this answer. And for that, we want to look at 9 degrees of Aries. So this is when we gonna end. This is the last part of the chapter. This is something in which the 29th of March, this also could be, 4 or 5 days before, 2 weeks after. It doesn't have to be precise on the day, but you will feel the energy of it. So the question here are, where are you at with your own story? Did you manage to understand what the universe is trying to tell you with all these small messages? How can you balance your own needs and the needs of others? So far, from April 2023, what have you learned about relating? How your relationships have been changing until now? How much are you still people pleasing, and how much do you want to stop to do that? And mostly, this is really the question that it goes with the one at the beginning. So to bring to a cycle with, who are my allies? In the next months, in this next part of the cycle, it's important to connect with people that are going to help you grow. So with which kind of people would you like to connect? Because you're changing, you need new things, you're starting new wars. Which are these new people that you want in your life? Because you might have a certain idea of like, I want someone that has a very strong personality. I want someone that is very smart. I want someone that is be sassy. Sit with it. Because maybe the idea is not the same. I mean, once I prepare the materials, I always sit with them. So I do the work on my own. And I was stuck with this question for some time. But I was like, I don't know really. Because if I see where I'm going with in my life, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. I'm not supposed to know. So this is how we put the story together. Saying that, do you have any questions? So we have 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes for questions. So for those who want to leave or need to leave, I'm going to put this in the recording afterwards. Does anyone have any questions or also any sharings that something that is coming up? You can write this in the chat. You can unmute yourself. Or something is not clear. Maybe everything is so clear, there's nothing to share. I'm just making my work easier. Get the chat. What is about karmic relationships? Is it the idea to resolve them or to accept the teacher-student dynamic and make them an ally? So it always depends, because we have different kinds of relationships. We have karmic relationships, we have dharmic relationships. So there are some people that are coming to our lives like to show us the way. There are some people that they are coming just to teach us a lesson. Yeah. So in principle, the point is that at the center point, we have to separate from them. The separation doesn't have to be physical. I mean, it doesn't have to end always in a breakup, but in the role and the status of the relationship. And this is something that is very difficult to do. Because like if you were born, like if the relationship was born in a certain way, unless the two people want to do the work, this may not change. And this is the issue. They usually one person wants to do the work and the other person doesn't. That's the problem. And then you're like, everyone is like, So technically, yes, practically, because it's karmic, probably no. I'm confused around setting intentions tomorrow. Yes or no? The answer is yes, but nothing too intense, with things that are connecting with the past and with things that are connected with your own voice. So if there is something that you haven't communicated yet that you would like to share with people or to share with someone that made you suffer, great. If it's something that has to do with your inner child that you've been struggling with for some time, amazing. If you're launching a new course, no. We understand the difference here? Yeah? Okay. Karen, you raise your hand.
Yeah, actually, I have I'm interested in Chiron actually. So natally I have Chiron in my 12th house, but now in transit, Chiron's in my 3rd house. And I don't know how much, when you're talking about the solar eclipse, how much influence you want to put on the transit or on the natal, because right now I'm politically involved trying to change the politics here in the United States, and I'm not getting people to listen to me. So I feel like there's a little bit of a frustration. It's like, okay, what am I communicating here in my 3rd house, And
Yeah.
with the solar eclipse, I'm kind of curious because where do you put the weight? Or does it?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. I was mentioning at the center point, like for the ones that are beginners, you're gonna get lost for a second. I'm sorry about that. So the idea is when we are working with predictive stuff, you always want to work with the natal planet is, because it's going to give you the reference to what do you want to talk about. Let's say in your case, you were born with Chiron in the 12th house, and this is for everyone. You just look where the natal planet is, because that's always where everything starts from. So you're having Chiron transiting the house of communication, but the question is, what do you want to talk about? 12th house topics. So we want to combine these two things. The 12th house has to do with the collective, has to do with things that people don't manage to see. It also has to do with enemies. It has to do with things that are not really easy to digest. So it's important that we talk about this in a way that is chironic, vulnerable. Yeah? Is this answering your question?
Yeah, I feel very vulnerable and I'm stepping out on a limb, but I know it's like the truth. So, the truth is always hard to kind of unravel, I know. So, but I'm sticking with it. I'm forcing myself because I know that's part of a wound to get people to hear me,
Yeah.
So
The more we do that with Chiron, and this is in general, when you look at Chiron natalist, this thing with the K that looks like a key, that's a place in which we have to give ourselves the permission to be vulnerable, but it's not easy. It's not
Yeah.
something that is like, yeah, I'm enjoying doing this. I want to do more of this. Oh God, no.
Yeah.
I see this, I have Chiron in Gemini. It's this thing like, I'm a speaker, but I'm having a speech impediment. And a part of me, sometimes I listen to my things, I'm like, oh my God, why this? you know, but we gotta do what we gotta do, because where Chiron is, it's the place in which we are shamans. So it's very important that we share this with people. So Chiron got there and shoot at them in your Aries style.
Yeah, I'm an Aries, that's for sure. I related to a lot of it. Thank you very much. It resonated with Aries
You're welcome.
and the Aquarian.
That's a combo. So yeah, I
That's
mean,
a
some
good
of the
combo.
astrological stuff, that's Aquarius, Sag, and yeah, and
That's a good combo. Aries and Aquarius is a good combo.
yeah. I mean, if you ask me, but yeah, some other people maybe a bit less. Great. Chris, question.
Thank you.
Yes, my love. So I was just curious because you were speaking about certain degrees, and for example, one of the degrees would fall kind of in the house before.
Can
So
I
where
tell
that
you start, Chris, where you're talking?
yeah,
Are you
yeah,
okay
yeah,
with
yeah.
that? Mhm, keep on going.
Yeah. So I can't remember which one it was, but it was like I have Aries sitting on the third house, but the degree was in the second house. So it
Yeah.
goes into like the Piscean second house stuff. So I'm just curious if that's correct to look at that.
So what we want to look at, exactly, that's the reason why I was sticking with the degrees. So let's say in your case, allora,
Yeah.
because my computer got stuck for a second. I don't know what happened. Okay. So because here is in the house, so you got some things in the house number 2 and some things in the house number 3. So with something, like in your case, you don't have 2 topics, you have 4 to work with. So sometimes it's going to be around like third house and maybe the relationship with your siblings. Some other times it's going to be about the way in which you're dealing with your own resources and the resources of the people you're with. So they're going to be more dynamic simultaneously. When you have this on one side, it's a bit more complex because you have to take care of different areas, but at the same time, it gives you a bit more range of action. Because if you just have the 2 houses, it's a bit, you know, like if it could feel a bit claustrophobic because you can have all these events happening all about relationships, all about money. Oh, yeah. So good question. Right.
Thanks, babe.
Camilla, dimmi tutto.
Hi. I have a question. As my Aries and Libra is on the ascendant and descendant axis, how do the eclipse?
Posso condividere mentre parli?
Yes, please.
E questo?
Yes, that one. Sì, quella.
Dimmi.
So yes, as you can see, I have also my IC and my MC and the 2 stelliums squaring the ascendant and the descendant. So whilst I understand how the eclipses impact my 1st and 7th house, what does that mean towards my 4th and 10th and the 2 stelliums?
So the thing is, I think at the beginning we're mentioning, like if we got things in Aries and Libra, but also Cancer and Capricorn, because they're also cardinal energies on a different level. Like here, since it's making a square, so it's making like these red lines here, it's just not about understanding the relationship between you and your partnership, let's say. Here is about which kind of implication having a relationship would have on my job. Which kind of implication being myself would have of having a family?
Okay.
You know, is this question of, do we want to be in a relationship, but are we afraid because I want to do this job? I want to move to Australia, and if I'm with someone, I cannot move. Do I want to have a family, but I'm scared to have one because I'm very ambitious and I want to do this other course, and I'm afraid that if I'm just going to be with someone, this will happen? Yeah, that's
okay, all complicated.
yeah. And you see, you had time. We have time to to discuss about that. Then I'm looking at the chat. Thank you.
Grazie, Giorgia.
If we are struggling in a karmic relationship, how we feel, and we feel we speak two different languages, how do you suggest to behave today and tomorrow and to manage the relationship in general? In this case, since we are working with Chiron and Mercury, we have to sit and talk. So there is something about talking very openly about the things that are not working for you and what you would like to propose, because it's Aries. So Aries is about, it's our capacity to take something. It's not about receiving something. Aries is like, I want this now. So if we want something to change, this is the moment we make the list of our needs and we see what happens. Yeah, if someone wants to have like readings, yeah, you can talk to me. 5th house, 11th house topics. And Nadia is sharing a chart. Yes. See, in your case, it's just 5th and 11th for sure. Okay. Anything else? Cami, are you asking another question or is just the previous hand? There's just that. Is the previous one. Okay. Perfect. Anything else? Jana, dimmi.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you tell me something more about the 2nd and 8th house dynamic? Because I don't get it.
Yeah. So the 2nd house has to, so first of all, 2nd, 8th house, for sure, we're talking about finances, money stuff. So money stuff, how I'm dealing with money, I'm dealing with my own money. If I'm in a relationship, how much we are investing? Do we want to buy a house together? Do I get very annoyed when my partner is spending €5 on organic broccoli at the supermarket because we shouldn't spend the money for that? So that's 2nd, 8th house. The other thing, if we are in a love relationship, sexuality. Are we happy? Are we satisfied about our sexual lives? Do we feel seen in our own body or not? Would we like to experience other things? Do we feel frustrated? And if yes, how can we act on that? That's another possibility. Another thing has to do with how much, because the 2nd house is your own self-worth and the 8th house has to do with others, the self-worth of others. How much energy we are putting on our own projects and how much energy we are putting in the projects of the relationship or the investments that we make in the relationship. Still important that you think about like how much you're investing on yourself. What does it mean to invest in this moment of your life? Where you will like to invest on, where do you need to invest more, and what is the vision that you have long term, and if you are prepared for this to change eventually. Because, you know, with the eclipse, you might have some plan, but maybe the plan is going to change. So these are like some of the options.
Thank you. Also, like my 3rd house is in 29 degrees of Aries. So is this like special topics here?
See, because the first eclipse, it was 29 degrees of Aries.
Mm-hmm.
So there was something important at the beginning as a topic, but then it became more personal. So, you know, the first part you can think about something with a sibling, something in communication, that had a result in your material world.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. 4th house and 10th house dynamic. Yeah, it's like, it's my family and my work. It's really like public and private, work family balance. Like, who am I when I'm home? Who am I when I'm in the outside world? How am I balancing these things? Because that's the thing with the eclipse, we have to find some sort of compromise, but the invitation is to push a bit more on the Aries side, on the initiation side, because life mission is in Aries. So we have to be a bit more selfish at the moment. You know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, we had to take care of the people more. This time, yeah, well. Ekaterina.
Hi,
Hello.
I have a Aries 9th house, and it's also squaring my Uranus and my Neptune, my 6th house Capricorn. And I put a question in the chat kind of around this, but my MC, my midheaven is also in the 9th. And I'm wondering if this is, I recently actually applied for like medical leave for my job because I've just been feeling like, number one, I'm burnt out, but number two, like wondering if it's a place of like where I have anything left. I'm wondering if you also kind of see that and like where the third, if that's too broad for like, if it's too broad for a personalized kind of interpretation, I understand. But then what does the 3rd house do in this relationship?
Aspetta, question. Which sign is your midheaven?
It's in the 9th house Aries, same as the...
No, the midheaven is the beginning of the 10th house.
Mm.
So, and it's in Aries.
Yeah.
So this means that your 10th house is also in Aries. So there is something regarding your work that has to change.
How does
Something.
that work with the third house, I'm wondering? Because I think third house, I don't really understand like what role it's playing in this
So
eclipse.
the thing is, if you got like, so 3rd and 9th, 4th and 10th, because like your 4th house is in Aries. So in your case, I will focus a lot in the 4th, 10th, more than 3, 9, if your MC is there. So the question is what you would like to start there, how you would like to communicate with the people you are working with. Because the 3rd house is like also, for example, for studies, if you want to study something new, or if you've been studying something and you don't want to study it anymore, you know, maybe you've been doing a PhD and you're like, you know what, basta, that's it, I'm done. So this could be a possibility. Yeah, so there is something in your course of study that could change, and this could have also an influence in your profession. Yeah,
Okay.
having an MC in Aries, there is for sure something around your work that has to change. It can't be the same.
Mm.
And also look at what happened in 2015, 16 around work, what you wanted to do, the compromises you were willing to make, and if you're still willing to make them, because maybe you don't. Yeah, so just food for thoughts.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Anyone else? We got time for 2 more questions. Mm, 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 mm. Anything else? Yeah, Lisa, you wrote me like you're in the middle of something. If you want to have like sessions regarding things, you just can send me an email afterwards. Any other last confessions?
I have a question.
Ciao, Simon. Come stai?
Hello, how are you? So it's more generalized about your question that you're asking, like, who are my allies? That's been a theme for me for sure. So I just wanted to ponder, like your question was what kind of people would I like to connect with?
Yeah.
I'm getting a little bit more like an undercurrent of like, who are the people that are gravitating towards me, and how is that karmically, how is that karmically helping me do my work or whatever? Because I actually don't know how to answer that question. But
What is the question here?
Well, I feel like if I'm asking who are my allies, like in a sense, I'm trying to attract a certain kind of, support system.
Mm-hmm.
But then, and this is probably something to do with my chart that I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's like a deeper, more transformative reason why people come into our lives. And I don't know if that's the right question for me, or if I need to change my thinking about who I'm inviting into my inner circle.
I mean, I think here the question, to reflect this back to you, has to do with, so what do you want to, Aries, what do you want to go next? And who do you need? Because there is something a bit utilitarian also with Aries, it's like, who do you need to get there? So let's say when we're talking about this is the part of your life in which you're going to need to be a bit more selfish, right? And right now, I want to focus on my career. So maybe I'm more interested in having friends that are entrepreneur, or being in some places in which they understand the things that I'm teaching, or you see what I mean? So I think the step back that we have to do here is just like, in order, my own personal army. So you're going to go on a war. You want your own army on your side. The question is, what is this war about? What is the hill you're going to die on? And then I think the army is just going to materialize itself. Is this answer your question?
Yeah, it helps. And I think because my my Chiron's in Aries, I think there's a little bit more like a deeper kind of, the wounded part of me that doesn't want to ask for the right help and, you know, wants to be the martyr, but I get it now.
I mean, it's more difficult for people that have sun, moon, ascendant, Chiron, north node, south node in Aries, because there is something like it's a big chapter of your life that is going to change. Because when we're looking at this as chapters, not all chapters are so, whoa. This is a whoa chapter for you. So the house in which Chiron is located requires lots of processing and work and help and support.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Martina is writing, very stupid question. No stupid questions here. I mean, let's see, maybe it's a stupid question, but still want to answer that. No, sending the info about my new workshop tomorrow. No new project. The specific one is an idea that I have like for 2 years and never had the guts. Allora, it is new, but it's also not new. Is it something that you have done before? Like, or you haven't done it? Because
Yeah,
if you
I mean, I did this workshop, also these like workshops are not a new thing. So they belong to a project that started 1 year ago. What is new is the thing that this idea, I had it like 2 years ago and never had the guts to bring it.
yeah, so that's fine.
Something that is a little bit new, like, because it involves some parts that are not completely new, but in the settings. And so there is something that is, for me, needs a little bit of courage.
Yeah.
And
it's perfect because it's an old idea. The thing though is that since it's the eclipse and since we got Mercury and everything, use new stuff. Like don't use old material again. If you used to promote it in a certain way, you are not that person anymore. With this Aries and also with this Mercury, we want to be vulnerable, we want to be open, we want to be honest, and we want to bring a new part of us in the project. So that's my suggestion. We launch it, but we don't recycle the old emails.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Good question. Anything else? What about divine timing? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Eclipse indicate that, you know, when you look at that from a mythological perspective, because they are connected with these lunar nodes, with these missions in our lives, they are naturally malefic. Like if you're talking to a Vedic astrologer, because they are called Rahu, and then you go Ketu, and they're like Saturn and the nodes, they don't have a great reputation, but they'll also help you to see the shadow within yourself. That's what the nodes are about, in order to integrate who you are, right? And the eclipse remind you that there are synchronistic things that are higher than us. So that's the reason why they're also connected with this divine timing, because they show us things that maybe we don't want to look at that are extremely important for our personal evolution. But if we think in a very non-dualistic way, then it's a problem. I mean, in general, when you deal with astrology, because astrology tells you there could be a time for everything in which you are responsible, but also the energy are telling you which are the things you should work on. If you're ignoring them, then it's on you. You know, it's always this mix of free will versus also aligning, to the situation, I suppose. The problem is that we tend to be sometimes on one extreme or the other. You know, I barely look at my own transits in my chart. It's really rare. I find it stressful to do anything based on astrology. At the same time, I also see the planets are like, look, this area of your life right now, we have to work on this. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, so redoing my taxes over the weekend. Great. Karina, you raise your hand. You are the last question.
Yeah, stressful was my keyword. I just want to acknowledge that the more I learn about this, the more confused I am and the less I know what to do. And there's like a tendency inside of me to drop it all and to really like there's this tendency of overwhelm with all these timelines and all these events and having to have an overview of everything. And there's like a yearning for simplicity and something to come back to when there's overwhelm. So I was just wondering, like, right now I feel I know nothing about these 3 days and tomorrow, not because you didn't tell us anything, but I just feel really overwhelmed. And I was wondering if there's one sentence you would tell me to find back to ground or to center, or to like how to move, how to behave. What would that be?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, since it has to do with Aries, you can think about what makes you feel alive right now, because that's really what the question here is, you know, because like we can do, like, some people find timelines more relaxing, some other people find them more stressful. Tools like astrology, I don't think it's for everyone. I mean, everyone knows I'm very clear about that. You know, it's just great because you have to sit with these processes. So just think like, what makes you feel alive right now? What do you need more of? What brings you joy? What turns you on? Because this is what you want to connect with. In which way can you be more selfish? What is something you are proud of for yourself? Yeah, so these are the inputs. I hope they help. And when there is an eclipse in Aries, since Aries has to do with our like blood and pressure and energy, I suggest you go for walks, release energy, going to the gym, going to a sauna, scream. Yeah, doing something in which you release your inner warrior on an embodiment level. Yeah, or even just taking an incredibly hot shower if you feel without energy. It brings some heat. Yeah. Cool. I hope this helps. Amazing. So saying that, I will send you the recording like in a minute. Something is not clear, let me know. You got plenty of questions to work with. Up to you to play with the Fina. Just put the tools there, you play what you want. And I wish you an amazing evening. Take it slow, don't kill anyone, and enjoy. Juicy. Ciao. Bye.